So I'm joined here with Gerald Ratner. First of all, thank you for coming in today. It was brilliant. We want to hear about the truth about the stories, and the ups and the downs, and you've definitely had your ups and your downs. We're just going to talk for a couple of minutes and now really just a little synopsis of what you discussed in there. But some of the question I asked, which I was really interested in, I could have asked another 100 questions on it really, is tell us a little bit about the up, because if we're not careful, we just talk about, you've had an up and a down, typical mountain really, you've had an up and then a down and you're back on an up. So let's discuss those three parts. Often people forget just how successful your organisation was. So just give us a little bit of background about the initial up.
Well, thanks for asking that, because you're right. And I tend to do these talks talking about the down because that's what people know me for, the disastrous speech at the Albert Hall. People do forget that I did build a very successful business. And a lot of that was done through acquisition, because if you go down the organic route, it's very, very slow. And you're also adding jewellers to a town. So if there's 4 jewellers, and it's a simple thing, but if you go organic route, there's going to be 5 jewellers. That's more competition. But if you acquire one, there's still 4. And you can also use their shop front. You can also use their staff. So I far prefer growing your business through acquisition than organic. And also we got hold of the top brands like H. Samuel, Ernest Jones, and we did the same trick in America. So firstly, you have to have a formula that works. And the formula that worked for us was basically the original Ratners offering very, very low prices with a lot of marketing, a lot of shouting, because I've always felt that you have to scream from the rooftops if you're in retail. But we had the original formula, very successful, and then you roll it out through, in our case, acquisition, which was a much quicker way to get to those 2,500 shops, which you never would have done through organic acquisition. And my first acquisition was 26 shops, and somebody said to me, that's the fastest 26 shops you've ever opened. And I thought, why have I? And you issue shares as a public company, so it doesn't cost you any cash.
So you ended up getting up to something like 2,500 shops, 27,000 staff, was it something like that?
Yeah.
At that point, just pre your speech, how was you feeling at that point? Did you feel on top of the world? Did you feel untouchable? How was life at that point really for you? Or was it just tough because, ultimately you're under scrutiny in the public eye, weren't you?
Yeah, that was the ridiculous thing. Even though we'd made a £125 million profit, which 32 years ago is probably over £1 billion profit. Even Marks and Spencers don't make that today. It's a massive profit, which in the jewellery business you can do because the margins are very high. But it was a wonderful time. I'd enjoyed. People forget I'd gone through sort of 10 or 15 years of nothing, and suddenly we hit on the formula, and we have 7 years of incredible growth. And it was a bit bittersweet in a way, because even though we'd just announced £125 million, they were going for 200 million. That's always the problem when you're running a public company. You've always got the analysts that are giving you targets which are very difficult to achieve. So you can never particularly relax, which doesn't particularly make you happy. It's quite stressful. I was still very, very proud of what we'd achieved. And somebody said to me, funnily enough, the day before I did the speech at the Albert Hall, things are going so well, what could go wrong? Little did I know what could go wrong.
Yeah, and then, so it did go wrong, and you was just saying then, it took you 7 years really to bounce back. One of the things I always think in businesses, that we attach our identity to the business. Now, your business was named after you, so that's even worse. Was that part of did that make it more difficult? And would you say your identity was attached to that or not?
I think the fact that I was very high profile. Now, I know you're very successful, Paul, but you keep a very low profile, which I do think makes a lot of sense in this world, because it's an old saying that they'll build you up to knock you down. And if you caught the press, they're not doing it for any other reason, but the next story is the down. And I did a lot of publicity. You know, I was in all these sort of profiles and stuff like that, out of even the city pages, in the magazines and stuff like that. And it worked for a long time because we were taking more money per square foot than any other retailer in Europe because we got a lot of free publicity. In the way that, if you like, Richard Branson, which you named this room after, did, using his own name to promote his brand. And I did that. But I think if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been half as bad. I think it was because if I was unknown, I don't think they would have gone for me in quite the same way.
Yeah. The good news is you had that down, 7 years of recovery, really, to get back on your feet. But I think the learning is you've been able to bounce back, and you're pretty happy nowadays, I think, with how it's turned out.
Yeah, I know I don't look happy, that's my face, but I am I am a lot happy, although my businesses today are nothing like the size of the business that I had. But, you know, you get to a point that how big do you need to be if you've got enough money and you can enjoy that money. And the problem was that when you are in a situation on a treadmill, if you like, that I was, which was, I wasn't interested in the money. It was just the power, if you like, the size of the business, which you get into that. You don't have the time to smell the roses, if you like, and enjoy the trappings of it. And it's human nature. You know, when you've lost it all and made some of it back, you do really appreciate it second time around.
Well, listen, thank you very much for coming in today. He was an exceptional speaker, and it's a pleasure to meet you, actually. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul, and I do admire what you're doing enormously. It's fantastic, and the speed that you're growing at is absolutely brilliant. So my advice to you is don't make any speeches at the Albert Hall and just carry on doing what you're doing.
Thanks very much. Much appreciated.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.